Right, our main news this morning. In a bombshell interview, Prince Harry has called for reconciliation with the royal family.
It follows the Court of Appeal's decision not to overturn the ruling on his security in the UK. So he lost, basically, lost his case.
I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Well, he went on to blame the king, claiming it's the establishment's fault if anything happens to him.
There is a lot of control and ability in my father's hands. Ultimately, this whole thing could be resolved through him, not necessarily by intervening, but by stepping aside, allowing the experts to do what is necessary. I have had it described to me, once people knew about the facts, that this is an good old-fashioned establishment stitch-up.
But, of course, I mean, him doing an interview like that, basically washing more of the dirty linen in public, is it going to make any of those wounds easier to heal?
Well, let's talk to royal commentator Richard Palmer. There's so much to go through on this, Richard. I mean, and one of the key lines is him saying, "I don't know how much longer my father's got." And if he's breaking that sort of confidence, no wonder they're annoyed with him.
Yes, morning. Yeah, I think that line is the most damaging thing from the interview, really. And, in the short term, I think his decision to do that yesterday is going to make things worse. In the more medium term, I think there's possibly some hope for reconciliation. But saying that about his doesn't know how long his father's got left completely undermines the message that has been coming out from the palace for months now. And I have to say it's a message which seems to be backed up by what we see in practice, that the king is getting better, that his recovery is going really well, and that his programme of duties is more or less back to normal. And that has completely undermined the palace. So I think there'll be a lot of annoyance there over that. But I do think that this case has been the biggest impediment to any reconciliation, and because it really sounds as if he's got no road left on this. The judges have really not given him an avenue to go to the Supreme Court, and he's writing to Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, to ask her to review the whole case and the processes that this committee goes through in deciding what level of protection people like him get. But the reality is I don't think she's going to do anything. And so then if that impediment is gone, potentially there is the chance for them to reconcile.
This video is sponsored by Saily. Saily is a brand new eSIM service app. What it does is get you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? Well, all you've got to do is hit our link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan. You can choose the best time frame for you, and then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. Saily eSIMs only ever have to be installed once, so when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and just like that, you could be watching the GB News YouTube channel. You can be connected anywhere you go, and you don't have to deal with patchy Wi-Fi in your hotels. So get sorted for your next trip by downloading Saily using the link in the description below, and if you use our code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us.
I mean, what's your initial reaction? Are you thinking, that he is absolutely blind to what the rest of the world seems to think of what he says, or has he got a persecution complex? I mean, I don't know whether to disapprove of him or be really seriously worried about him.
I think there are people feeling all of those things. I mean, on the case itself, I mean, he seemed convinced he was going to win, but I don't really know anybody who had been following it who really thought that. I mean, clearly the judges said that that Ravek, the committee that decided this, had departed from its usual practice, but they felt it had good reason to do that because Prince Harry had decided, and his family decided to leave the country, so they needed to make a bespoke decision about this. I mean, I think Harry has got quite a good point in that former prime ministers, I mean, received lifelong protection. So we've got, I think, 8 former prime ministers at the moment, and we taxpayers are spending something like £10 million a year protecting them. That includes Liz Truss, who was in the office for only 50 days. And he's arguing that he's at greater risk than some of those people because Al-Qaeda has said that they want him dead. Far-right activists have targeted him before because of his decision to marry a woman of mixed-race heritage. So he has got a bit of a case there, I feel. But he's gone about it all the wrong way, I think a lot of people would say.
It's interesting as well, he says some members of his family, and the papers today seem to be suggesting he's talking about William, but some members of the family will never forgive him. Is that an acknowledgement that he's done something wrong?
I'm not seeing any sign really that he's acknowledging that he's done something wrong. I mean, he feels very aggrieved, but I think that's right. I mean, the rift with William and Kate seems much deeper than with his father, and it's hard at the moment to see how that's ever going to be fixed. I think other members of the family are perhaps more open to reconciliation, but again, some of the he's said an awful lot of things. I mean, things about Queen Camilla, for example, that have upset his father. There's a lot of bridge building to be done yet.
Yeah, and it is going to make any idea of healing the rift almost impossible, isn't it?
Well, I think with his father, I think it's possible. I mean, one of the awful things for King Charles is that he's only ever seen his granddaughter Lilibet once, when they came over for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in June 2022. Harry's made it clear he's not going to bring his family over without police protection because he feels they're in danger. There's possibly a way forward there. Maybe the King could invite them over to Balmoral for the summer and say, if there's enough notice given and the government agrees that protection can be provided on that occasion, then maybe there's something that can be done there. Or maybe if they come over for Trooping the Colour, I'm guessing that Trooping the Colour this year it might be a bit too late for that, but maybe next year. I still think there are possibilities of fixing this.
OK. Richard, thank you very much indeed. Well, as Richard said there, Prince Harry says he's going to write to the Home Secretary to see if she can do anything about this. And that leads us to our poll of the day, and it's basically saying, should the Prime Minister and indeed the Home Secretary step in to get security for Harry and his family? You can scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching on the TV. Otherwise, if you're listening on the radio, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
I did think the one thing he said about the fact that he was born into the royal family, and even if he's not a working member of it, he still has that incredibly high profile. And I know you can argue about the things that he said in Spare have made him more of a target than ever. But he then made the point that people who choose a public life, and like becoming a cabinet minister or prime minister, they get lifelong police protection.
But not to the same scale.
Well, we don't know.
Because the Prime Minister, Liz Truss has one officer, one protection officer.
That's it. All the time, though. It's one.
Whereas, obviously, Harry comes over, there'd have to be load of them, wouldn't there?
Armed guards, almost. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know.
I don't know. It's just terrible to
sad.
see him doing an interview like that. It reminds me of the Princess Diana interview, where, you know, you can't help thinking, don't do interviews like that. It doesn't help your cause. It just makes you look as though you're constantly moaning about poor me, poor me. Even if he's got a point, that's what it looks like, and it's not. It doesn't help his cause, I don't think.
Well, you can
Such
let us
a
know.
shame.
No, it is. You can let us know what you think. gpnews.com/your say.